Aw, look at 'em, sleeping like little angels.
The Odyssey is Christopher Nolan's biggest film thus far, tackling the classic novel by Homer. While I'm not particularly familiar with the source material, having only listened to the musical retelling of the story in Epic the Musical, the general themes and story have been a mainstay in so many other films, my personal favorite being Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But unlike those other looser adaptations, none have been able to portray the sheer grandness of the original story, and a big part of that has to do with the presentation. Watching the film for the first time in IMAX 70mm completely elevated the experience and made it one of the best theatrical experiences I've ever had. But even despite this, The Odyssey is still the best looking movie of the year thus far. With a legendary cinematographer in Hoyte van Hoytema at the helm, working with a camera that can provide the biggest possible frame, the film really makes the most out of this opportunity. Not once did I feel like a shot was out of place or filmed in anything less than the best possible way. Whenever the frame needed space, it had space, and whenever the frame needed noise, it had noise. It's a film that understands exactly what it needs to be, and yet it still goes above and beyond. Nolan's trademark practical effects work wonders here, especially with the more fantastical elements of the story. I'm trying to imagine it being filmed any other way, and I just can't because Nolan nailed it, and it cements my belief that for a story like this, there was no better way to make these fantastical elements feel tangible than to actually put them in front of the camera. The score by composer Ludwig Göransson easily could have been just string instruments, and it probably still would have been great, but the use of instruments reflective of the period added this wholly original and immersive sound that I absolutely adored. Odysseus' theme particularly is one of the most beautifully performed songs in any film this year thus far, and it's cementing him as possibly one of the best composers in film history. However, this is far from the perfect experience many praise it as. I felt the first act was pretty slow compared to the rest of the film, and throughout it, but especially during the first act, the editing felt choppy and too quick, which was pretty distracting. This more chaotic style of editing worked wonders for me in Oppenheimer, but it just didn't here. The non-linear narrative structure that Nolan is known for also didn't really work for me in the beginning. Given the scale of the Odyssey, I really needed it to play straight from the start so I could get acclimated with the setting, the story, and the characters. With Nolan's trademark style, it left me confused and a bit lost. Granted, this was rectified by a second watch. What felt worse, however, was the dialogue. I don't particularly care for the lack of historical accuracy in the way they speak. Rather, the repetition of some of the lines they said got pretty irritating and felt cheesy in a bizarre way. The last thing that bothered me, which is an issue with a fair amount of his work, is the overly loud sound mixing. The Cyclops scene specifically felt excessively overtuned, and I would have lost my sense of hearing if I had to listen to it for 5 minutes straight. I get that it's to enhance his gargantuan size, but you don't have to make it 125 decibels loud, a volume comparable to an air raid siren. This harsh loudness really drowns out any other noise, and it made it impossible to understand what exactly the Cyclops was saying, which also made the reveal of it being Poseidon's son feel tacked on instead of something we can actively learn. I want to emphasize that most of these issues generally only apply to the first act. Almost all of them were non-existent in that last half of the film. The third act specifically was movie magic, largely because of the incredibly nuanced performances from the cast. Anne Hathaway is fantastic as Penelope, giving a powerful performance full of longing for her husband and deep sadness as the thought of having to remarry becomes more and more likely. Robert Pattinson has been killing it lately and is making a strong case that this is his year, as he does an incredible job portraying a sniveling bastard pining for a throne that isn't even his. And John Leguizamo, Charlize Theron, Elliot Page, Lupita Nyong'o, Samantha Morton, and especially Tom Holland leave such a meaningful impact with such a limited amount of screen time. But the real standout is, of course, Matt Damon. He sells the desperation and despair Odysseus has to endure in his journey to return back home with such grace and skill. He brings a certain vulnerability to this character that really helps deconstruct and separate him from the myth and legend many of the characters back in Ithaca view him as, and that dichotomy is one of my favorite parts of the film. But it's an admission of guilt in the last hour by the general himself that brings it all home. From the very beginning, the story of the Battle of Troy is portrayed as a heroic and triumphant victory and paints the soldiers of Greece as clever, brave men by the people who died in Sparta, who praised the leader of Ithaca for his heroism and cunningness. But the battle came at a tragic cost for both parties involved. Thousands of men slaughtered fighting for their kingdoms, hundreds of women tortured and raped, and a city, a home, left in ruins, all because of a man's quest for vengeance. War is a place where dignity and pride go to rest, where grief and trauma consume the surviving participants and shape them into unrecognizable hosts. The idea of a winning side in war is futile. Troy was not a glorious win. Odysseus was not a glorious war general. The journey back home was not a glorious reward. It was the consequence of his genocidal actions, of his defiance of Zeus's law, of his crimes against humanity. To burn the walls of Troy truly was to burn the world entirely. Hello, I am alive. This is going to be a quick update, a return to form if you will, but I just want to say thank you for watching. I don't even remember the last time I uploaded, in all honesty, but I've been very busy, specifically with an internship, and now that's done, and now I am officially out of college. I'll get my degree in the mail eventually. It should be this month, but that should hopefully give me more time to work on this channel, to make more videos, and watch more movies and all that stuff. It's not a guarantee, but that's something that I'm hoping will happen, but we'll see. I will say that I have been writing, I have been brainstorming different projects, so there's a good chance the next big thing you see from this channel is going to be this next series that I'm working on. Editor me, can you put a quick tease, please? Alright, and that's it. I don't know what I'm gonna put, but that's your teaser. That's all you're getting. But yeah, I've been working on that. I've been brainstorming another thing that I'll release when it's ready. But yeah, I didn't want to keep you guys out of the loop with all this stuff. Just know that I have been working on this stuff. It is still something that I enjoy doing. And yeah, hopefully what's to come is acceptable to your guys' standards and to my standards. So yeah, that's that for this short update. So thank you for watching. I hope you're having a great day whenever you're watching this, and please be safe, be kind, love one another, and be the best version of yourself.